So I like puzzles, like putting them together. I don't like being the one to design them, though. And a lot of this soap challenge seems to be precisely that. And that's really all I have in me to describe a little teaser for what it is that we're doing today. I'm going to tell you all about what we're doing today in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 349 of 365 days of soap, and we are doing weird soapy things today. We are doing Amy Warden Soap Challenge for the Mosaic. Now, again, I don't like making puzzles, being the one to create them. That's not my bag, baby. I like putting them back together, for sure. And I saw so many gorgeous mosaics in the submissions for the Amy Warden Soap Challenge of the Mosaic soaps while I was looking through all this. And they're stunning. They're amazing. Like, people were creating literal like cardinals, like the whole ass bird in one soap, using little teeny tiny pieces of soap and then pouring around them. And that's wild. And I really, really respect that craft. And I think that that's amazing. But that's not me. No. And so you're going to get my version of a mosaic. And really, this soap is not my bag. But, you know, let's go watch the thing and we'll talk about the mosaics. And I can ooh and all over everybody else's, but I guess I'm going to show you mine. So let's go check it out. Okay, so first up, this is a really weird challenge. And I'm not going to be any good at it because this is not my brain. But for those people whose brains it is, you should do this because this is cool. Like, if you like doing a mosaic like tabletop, like with the little mosaic tiles and stuff, you should do this for sure, because I saw some really cool submissions on the Soap Challenge, you know, results page or whatever, where people were like making little individual cardinals in like these little 3-inch bars of soap, and I mean, like, crazy cool things, crazy amazing. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to. But also, I thought this would be a fun, you know, time to look at soaps that have been around and like curing and, you know, in existence for a real long time. So you'll recognize almost all of these soaps. I mean, no, literally all of these soaps. These are all soaps that have been done on the channel in the past, you know, 349 days and have been around curing and, you know, cured and done their thing for. The most recent one in that entire one would be the one that I'm doing right now, and that was a failed batch of the Folklore Bar, and those were done like back in October. So Yeah, they're like 4, 5, 6 months old. Other ones are close to a year old in that whole, stack. And so very, very hard bars of soap. And I thought, well, this could be cool. Making, just using random soaps that I just like to hold on to just to see what what the bar looks like a year later. How much weight has it still lost? I mean, I just keep a couple around just of all batches that I make for funsies. Yes. And so now I'm using these soaps that are very, very all cured and very, very hard and all of the jazz in, fresh soap batter around them to see what it does and if it breaks. And I'm sort of just, I don't know what I'm doing with this, you guys, is the thing. So the whole idea is, for the mosaics, right, is you have soap that you cut up into little pieces, and then you put those little pieces together in some kind of way that, make some kind of design. And as I said, I saw some really amazing soaps on the submission page, like some really extraordinary soaps. And if you have that kind of brain, like you like putting like little puzzles together and stuff, I mean, I love puzzles, but like creating the puzzle to then put it together, I don't like that. So this is kind of what I ended up going with. Like, let's just mix a whole bunch of old soaps together and cut them up in some kind of way and put them in the mold. Now I am using cocoa butter to seal them to the liner because the soap challenge said to. Also, one of the things that the soap challenge said to not do was have pieces that were too small, right? And so I kept my pieces really big. But then I went and looked at all of the things that were submitted after I did this, the things I'm talking about right now, and saw like people literally making like full cardinals, like birds, on a 3-inch bar. Like, so those are really, really tiny pieces to have accomplished that. And it looked stunning, like absolutely gorgeous, but they all use small pieces. So while that might be the recommendation, I don't know, after seeing that, I thought maybe I should have used more smaller pieces. But, cool, whatever. It's all great. We're gonna just glue these down and then pour some soap batter over it and see what we come up with. But, I mean, this is not my forte. I am not an artist. That's not where my brain goes in life. And so I just, sure, let's, okay, this is what we're rolling with. I'm ready to proceed with this. And, I don't have a lot to say for myself at this point, but there's my mosaic. You're welcome. Okay, and on to, like, the part of soap making that I like. So we are using Cashmere Glow, the Maple Street, and it's a delightful scent. This was recommended by Scent Sluts and Hoes, and it's a good one for sure. And I'm going to be using activated charcoal, so the whole bar is going to be black, except for the things that are not black, that are in my mold right now. And also mixed with the activated charcoal is some red clay too, because I'm on a big red clay kick right now. And so yes, all the things. And I am going to mix this to an emulsion and pour it over and do the things. Now this is another way to do, because you usually see me, well, with the clay thing, you always see me put it in in the batter as soon as it's hit emulsion. But with, it's a very simple bar, you can totally just throw literally everything into the pot at the exact same time. So put in your activated charcoal, put in your scent, put in all the things, and then take your stick blender to it and find emulsification. You can do that. And so I just kind of did that. I mean, I didn't put the scent in because I don't know what the scent's going to do. But, it's like the same thing. You can also use, and I know that to be true because of the number of times that I've had soap classes, and you know, when I'm teaching soap classes or whatever, I'm like, okay, figure out your scent, measure out your scent, but then set it aside, because we are not using this until the very end, until all of your colors are figured out and all of your whatever. And then somebody in almost every class looks up as they have just poured their scent blend or their essential oils or whatever just into the, you know, the regular soaping oils before we've started the lye or whatever, and they're like, okay, so now what do I do? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, you'll still be fine, but your soap might get thick fast. I don't know. You might have less time. Let's see what we do. And it always works out. It always becomes soap, because that's the beauty of soap. Now, I'm pouring this super duper thin because I want to get around all these little pieces. And that's another thing that, like, if anyone knows of a soaper that did this and also put a YouTube video up about it, link it or tell me, because I want to see, especially if they did the little teeny tiny pieces. Because my thinking on this whole thing, and this was what they did in the tutorial, like they glued all the pieces down and then poured the soap batter, and it's like, it's fine if it gets on the top because then you can plane it, and that's just another step that I'm like, planing it? I don't want to plane it. But yeah, so that, but I want to know, I want to see somebody who did the really teeny tiny little pieces for the mosaic and did this without things moving around. Did you actually just put down a layer of soap and then make your design in the because I mean, again, some of these things, like you did a whole bird on a 3-inch bar of soap, like a whole bird with, like, there's also other stuff behind the whole bird. It's like with little teeny tiny pieces. It's not like, okay, well, here's some red soap that I used a cookie cutter to cut into a bird shape. Like, no, they built it out of like little squares of, it's incredible. And so I would love to see how they decided to tackle this, because even as I'm putting this very thin soap batter in to make sure all the cracks and crevices are filled, they're still moving. Like the mosaic pieces underneath are still moving. And so that's going to happen. And so I'm like, I'm very interested in seeing a video from somebody who like has big artistic, you know, talent and, you know, did the little teeny tiny mosaics. I would love to see that. If you were that person, send me your link, because this was, as I was pouring this and I saw these things moving around, I thought to myself, well, I'm glad I didn't do a real pattern. And then again, I saw all the submissions that were there with these little teeny tiny, also really cool patterns. And I went, well, I wasn't even talking about a pattern like that. I was just talking about like a flower or something. And it's, theirs didn't move. So I would like to see this from someone else. This is definitely, this is something that is not in my wheelhouse. This is something that I never would have done if not for Amy Warden's soap challenge thing. But let's go check out the cut of this very weird thing. Okay, now on to the cut of this, and this is the next day, and that's a thing. It's cool, right? I guess. Now, here's the thing. I started cutting this the day after, and things were just weird, right? Like, the soap is still soft, which normally is fine for me. That's not a big deal. But when you're trying to cut through really hard soap, like a year-old soap and fresh soap batter, things are starting to get weird and like flake off, and like these pieces were breaking off, like the mosaic pieces. And I decided to go ahead and like let them sit for a couple more days before I fully cut them all up. And so yeah, that was sort of my thought process on it before we plane it and whatever, because it was very, see that? Like it just completely came out of the thing, and I'm wondering if fresh soap batter would have been better. But at that point, it's like, okay, you're literally making fresh soap batter with the express purpose. You're making fresh soap with the express purpose of then making a mosaic soap. And on one hand, like, I sort of get that, because there are things that that there are pours that take multiple days, and I'm fine with them. But for this, I was just like, I don't. Anyway, the point is, using your old soap, I mean, I guess it works, but it was very difficult to cut, and the cleanup for all of these bars ultimately ended up being kind of a pain. And I don't think that I would have experienced this sort of like, I'm not fully, like, the fresh soap batter is not fully adhering to the other soaps as well, if the soaps had been reasonably fresh that we cut up into designs. And so there's that. And so this is them sitting after a couple days, and maybe they're firm enough to do some planing with. And so I'll plane off some pieces and see. And I mean, that's cute, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is all some kind of thing, for sure. I'm not good at this. I think that's the overarching point of this one, is I would never do this because my brain can't figure out how to approach doing it. So all of the bars ended up being, cool and not weird. And so I need someone else to teach me. Because, I'm not good at all the things, just most of them. And this one is the one that when I'm bad at things, I admit it. So there's mosaic and pull-throughs, mica lines. Yeah, those things. But they smell really nice, and they're detoxifying bars, and that's cool. And I don't even know why I'm trying to do this. I'll never get these pieces to go back together like it ever meant something in the first place. This is not a thing. But there's day 349, my mosaic, and my gourd. Okay, and there they are, my mosaics, and I can say two really great things about them. One, activated charcoal bars are amazing. They're detoxifying and amazing and awesome, and I love everything about activated charcoal soaps. And that was an activated charcoal soap. Two, the scent, delightful. It's so sexy, it's lovely. I adore this scent. The actual making of the mosaic, though, I don't know. I don't know if I was in a mood or what it was, but like my heart was not in this, and it was not going to be something that I don't know that I would ever really be into it. I mean, if I have unlimited time in a day and I can actually plan this out and say, well, I'm going to need 724 pieces of red and 229 pieces of green and 19 pieces of white and 7 pieces of black, and have the time to figure that out and then cut the pieces to create, then maybe that's a different story for sure. But I have to make so much soap every day that that was not, I don't ever see myself doing a mosaic again. But if you are into that, like building the tabletops with the glue and the little pieces of glass and stuff, I love the craft. I love watching other people do it, and I appreciate the things that they do. You might like this challenge. I did not. And that's that. If you are interested in the soap, which is very cool and weird looking anyway and smells great, and again, it's an activated charcoal bar, it all performs beautifully, you can find it at soapandclay.com tomorrow after the Soap Apprentice has her turn with the mosaic, for sure. If you're interested in seeing the rest of these soap challenges that we decide to tackle for the remainder of year 1, you should subscribe to the channel. That would be excellent. For those of you who are subscribed to the channel, hey, you are excellent. Thank you, Sudsers, for being around and understanding that it's not the best thing in the world to just like throw this toxic positivity out there and just pretend to be in love with absolutely everything in the world. Sometimes it's okay to not be in love with everything. And for this particular one, I did it for the experience, but I would never do it again. And that's completely fine. And I love that my Sudsers understand that. Thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 Days of Soap. That's it for me today. I will see you guys all again tomorrow. Bye.